In the lectures up to this point, we have discussed a whole lot of alternatives and different issues that arise when dealing with the full generality of distributed systems. I'd like in this class to also try to get down to some brass tacks that involve applying the various approaches that we've got and dealing with particular cases of problems. Things where you can't just say, as I have been saying in the lecture, well, you could do it this way and you could do it that way, and it all depends on what effect of your system you want to get. Let's take a look at some systems that actually have particular goals where you are trying to do some very specific thing and where you want to build a working system in the end. And if that's the case, you have to come up with answers to these questions. You have to make up your mind about it will be this way or it will be that way. I'll go with this alternative, I'll go with that alternative. I'll sacrifice this desirable property, get more of that desirable property. Now in this first session, we are going to approach it with a very, very simple distributed storage application. Consider this very simple case. I've got two machines. One machine is the machine that I'm actively working on. Another machine is perhaps a server machine, or it's some other kind of machine that is sitting around and not doing quite as much active stuff. I want to take all of the files that I am working with on my active machine, and I want to make a backup copy on the other machine. All that's going to be done with the backup copy on the other machine is they're going to be saved in case I need them. Perhaps I'll restore them if it turns out that I have a failure on my machine or I inadvertently delete a file on my main machine. But I'm never going to go work on the files on that machine. Nobody else is going to work on the files on that machine. It's just a question of properly saving a backup copy onto a second machine. But it is a second machine. It's an entirely different machine, totally independent, willing to be cooperative if we design our system that way, but not a machine that I have direct control over in the sense that I can issue commands on my machine that will be executed on that other machine just as if they were on my own machine. Now, as I said, this is really a very, very simple case by the standards of distributed systems. We're going to avoid a whole lot of the very tricky issues. There are only two sites, and as I mentioned in one of the lectures earlier, 2 is kind of a magic number and it makes life a lot easier. We're going to make it a lot easier as well by saying updates only occur on one site. There is never an update on the backup site. We never change anything there except when we make a copy from the primary site. And many of the synchronization issues that you might have to worry about in many kinds of distributed systems are simply not going to pop up here. They're not going to be something that we care about here because this is something where we are not trying to do things in truly real time. We want to get our backups done, we want to get them done properly, but it doesn't matter if they get done now, the next second, the second after that, a few minutes later. We can, in fact, if we need to, defer the backup for a significant period of time if it is not convenient or possible to do it right now. So, given that we want this kind of simple system, something that's really not very complicated at all by distributed system standards, what choices are we going to make? How would we go about designing such a system?